The ones who talk the loudest usually fall the fastest, because sound can't stop silence when silence is surgical. And you walked in like a scalpel, precise, deadly, beautiful. They thought they were untouchable, thought they were the final boss, the headline, the legend. But you didn't just beat them, you humiliated them. You cracked their confidence open like a glass jaw and let the whole room see the truth spill out. Let's not sugarcoat it. They built their name off being the top. Years of applause, highlights, statistics. And then you walked in, no noise, no hype, just presence, and stripped them of their legacy like it was never real to begin with. You didn't even need to talk. Your game talked filthy. They'll be replaying that loss in their mind like a horror film, because it wasn't just a defeat, it was a reveal. You were never chasing them. You were just waiting for the perfect moment to show them who they really are. A name carried by noise, a brand built on bluff, an empire made of wet paper. And the worst part for them? You made it look light, like it was beneath you, like they were a warm-up set before the real work started. So yeah, go ahead, like this, subscribe. Because there's another chosen one right now, somewhere in silence, still doubting their power, still holding back. And when you engage, you help this message find them. This isn't just content. This is ammunition. For every quiet warrior who's about to walk into a room full of frauds and take over without a single word. Let's make something clear. The power of being chosen isn't about crowns. It's about consequences. When you're chosen, your wins don't inspire, they haunt. You don't just rise, you ruin illusions. You don't just compete, you correct the balance. You are the reckoning they didn't see coming. They weren't ready for someone built in the dark. Someone who didn't need applause to grow sharp. Someone who trained while they posed. Someone who studied pressure while they ran from it. You are what happens when silence becomes skill, when pain becomes programming, when rejection becomes a weapon. You didn't need a platform, you needed an opening. And once you got it, you didn't just perform, you redefined what performing looks like. They thought you were the underdog. Turns out they were just overhyped. Let's be real. They were pampered by praise. They were carried by bias. They got so used to winning by default that they forgot how to fight. But you remember everything. Every time they laughed at you. Every time they looked past you. Every time they called you average, irrelevant, invisible. And you turned all of that into fuel, into fire, into focus so cold it burns. Now they don't laugh. They whisper. They flinch when your name gets mentioned. Because your victory wasn't a win. It was a message. Everything you thought made you special. I just erased it in front of everyone. And I barely tried. That's the power of a chosen one. You don't just take trophies, you take truth and shove it in their faces. You strip titles down to nothing. You bring karma with precision. And once you move through, the room doesn't recover. So don't you ever question your light again. Don't you ever try to dim down just to survive their comfort. You were sent to disrupt, to unmask, to dominate without needing approval. They thought you were the challenge. No, you were the checkmate. You're what happens when the universe sends a response, not a request. So walk like you just smoked the star player, because you did. And they're still trying to pretend it didn't happen. But we all saw it, and it was sexy as hell. So if that fire in your chest is real, if you know deep down you were built for moments just like this, drop the number 77 in the comments right now. Not for luck, for confirmation, for alignment. That's how the universe knows you heard this, that you're locked in, that you're not backing down, because we're just getting started. And if you really are the one who made Smoke in the Star Player look sexy and effortless, you'll feel it. Now, lock in, because what comes next will hit even harder. Let's get into it. Number 1. When the underdog learns to bite back, even the kings start bleeding. You should have killed the silence before it learned how to shoot back. That's what they'll be thinking. That's what will haunt them. Because while they were busy dancing in the light, you were sharpening your teeth in the dark. You watched. You listened. You bled quietly. You rebuilt without clout, without crowds, without comfort. And now you've returned not just stronger, but smarter. That's what they never saw coming. They weren't afraid of your rise. They were afraid of your evolution. You didn't just survive the fire. You studied it, learned its rhythm, understood its burn, and now you wear it like armor. That's not just power, that's underdog intelligence. It's the type of knowledge that can't be taught in systems. It's carved from pain. It's coded in betrayal. And now that you've unlocked it, there's no going back. You're no longer playing the game. They are. And they're doing it with broken strategies, stale tricks, and egos too loud to hear the shift in the air. Understand this. They weren't prepared for someone who knew how to suffer strategically, for someone who collected failure like files and turned it into future-proof memory. While they were winning, you were watching. You clocked every weakness, every overstep, every lazy move dressed up as confidence. They saw you as quiet, but quiet isn't soft. Quiet is dangerous. Quiet is what builds bombs. You were the one left out, overlooked, benched. They mistook your silence for surrender. What they missed was the part where silence sharpens vision, where rejection breeds redirection. While they rested on praise, you became obsessed with precision. You trained your focus while they trained for applause. And now, you've got a kind of intelligence that doesn't just react, it predicts. But let's stop here and address the real enemy for a second. Not them, you. Yes, you, chosen one. The one the universe has been backing in silence. The one it's protected in shadows. Don't act like you haven't doubted, like you haven't sat in your room, wondering if this power was ever real. Like you didn't shrink when you should have shattered the room. You questioned your gift just because it didn't come with a welcome banner. You tried to play small just to keep their comfort intact. And I get it. Being chosen doesn't feel like power at first. It feels like punishment, like exile. You watch everyone else fly while you crawl, and you think maybe the universe skipped you. But let me tell you something brutally honest. The universe doesn't waste force on the fragile. If it took you the long way, it's because you're meant to last longer than them. The slow road wasn't a delay, it was weaponization. You were being built for something they'll never understand, something they can't touch, because when you're chosen, the universe starts working behind you. It clears paths you don't see. It whispers strategies in your setbacks. It turns losses into lectures. You didn't fall behind, you fell into alignment, and that's why they're scared now. That's why they act like you don't exist, because deep down, they feel the shift. They see the light bending toward you. They hear the sound of something inevitable rising, and it terrifies them. They played with the system. You became the system. They relied on favoritism. You relied on focus. They leaned on status. You leaned on strategy. So when you walk into the room now, it's not just you walking in. It's every unseen hour, every ignored moment, every underestimated version of you, now refined, now weaponized, now unstoppable. They thought they were kings. But kings don't panic unless the throne starts shaking. And you're shaking everything. So why in the hell are you still doubting yourself? Why are you still waiting for their validation like they own your value? They don't. They never did. The universe already chose you. That should have been enough. But instead of standing in that power, you tried to play nice. You tried to dim your light so they wouldn't feel the heat. But that light, it was never meant to blend in. It was meant to blind. Chosen one, this isn't just your rise. This is their reckoning. This is the part where the underdog bears teeth. This is where soft turns to steel. This is where the overlooked becomes the overseer. Because once you learn to move with the universe, you stop playing their game. You reprogram it. Don't flinch now. Don't fold just because they finally noticed. You were made for the attention that comes with domination. You were forged in silence for this exact level of pressure. And trust me, they can't breathe where you're about to go. Their ego isn't built for altitude. You trained for high air. You trained where there was no applause, only echoes. You were underestimated, so you could observe in peace. You were isolated, so you could rise without interference. That wasn't abandonment. That was alignment. You were never outnumbered. You were just hidden until it was time to strike. And now it's time. So walk in like the storm. Move like someone who burned every blueprint and built their own kingdom from scratch. Step like the person who smoked the star player and made it look light. Because you did. And they felt it. And the next time they see you, they'll either bow or break. Your intelligence is no longer silent. Your presence is no longer small. You are no longer waiting. You are the shift. And this is just the beginning. Number 2. When quiet starts speaking louder than applause. Real power doesn't announce itself. It just enters, and suddenly the room doesn't feel safe anymore. That's you now. You don't walk in looking for energy anymore. You are the energy. You don't try to match the room. You shift it. Not with noise, not with flash. Just presence. Just pressure. Just the kind of silence that makes even the loudest ones forget what they were about to say. That's what real power looks like. That's the evolution. That's the shift they didn't prepare for. You used to look around and ask yourself, do I belong here? Now they look at you and feel something in their chest whisper, we're not ready for this one. And the wildest part, you didn't even speak. You didn't even try. You just arrived. This is what happens when the chosen stop performing, when they stop chasing applause and start living like the assignment. There's something different about someone who no longer needs to prove anything. It's not arrogance, it's arrival. You've reached a frequency most people can't hear. You've become the moment before the explosion, the stillness that scares the unprepared. You're the question they don't know how to answer. But let's stop right there, because we need to address the problem, the real issue. It's not them, it's you. You still doubt this. Still second-guess the weight you carry. Still question why rooms fall silent when you enter. You keep looking for logical reasons to explain something that was written into your bones before you ever walked into those places. You keep thinking it's about charisma, or looks, or luck. No, it's alignment. It's presence. It's the kind of soul the universe backs in full silence, because loud is for people who need attention. You don't need attention. You command awareness. You ever wonder why they tense up when you speak, even when you say something simple? It's because you don't waste breath, because your words hit like weather, unexpected and impossible to ignore. You bring the kind of weight that doesn't shout, it presses. And still, you doubt it. You still shrink in certain rooms, still apologize for your presence with your posture, still carry their insecurities like they're yours. And for what? So they feel safer around someone who's built for war. You were not sent to be digestible. You were sent to disrupt. Stop softening your walk so they can sleep better. That tension they feel when you're near. That's the cost of being fake around something real. You weren't made for mutual comfort. You were made to wake people up. Let me hit you with something harder. They don't like your quiet because it makes their noise look insecure. They don't understand your calm because they've only ever known chaos. They can't stand your confidence because it isn't built on trophies. It's built on truth. You are what exposes the performance. You are what makes polished egos sweat. You're what happens when authenticity walks in the room and everyone pretending suddenly forgets their lines. And what scares them the most is that you don't even need them to know it. So let me ask you something straight. Why are you still asking for permission to be powerful? Do you think the universe gave you all this light just so you could dim it every time someone twitches around it? Do you think being chosen is about being liked? Chosen doesn't mean popular. It means backed by something bigger. It means being the walking proof that stillness can shake structures. This quiet confidence of yours, it didn't come from success. It came from survival. From sitting in rooms full of noise and choosing not to speak until your words could end the conversation. It came from being overlooked for so long, you had to learn how to grow without sunlight. And now your roots are deep enough to pull gravity. They don't know how to define you anymore, and that's why they talk. That's why they spin stories. That's why they whisper behind closed doors like children hiding from thunder. Because you represent something they never had to face, the one who doesn't need the crowd to become the crown. And before you even say it, no, you're not crazy for feeling like you're meant for more. That feeling isn't arrogance, it's awareness. It's a signal from the universe that you've stepped into the next stage, that you're no longer one of them. You're not competing, you're not climbing, you're calling the storm. And yet, you still flinch, still hesitate, still wonder if you're too much. Let me tell you right now, you are. And that's exactly the point. The world is full of people who made themselves small to fit into places that never respected them. You're not here to adjust, you're here to expand. If they're uncomfortable, they can leave. If they're confused, let them guess. Your power was never meant to be understood. It was meant to be felt. And trust me, they feel it. They feel it when you walk in and the whole temperature changes. They feel it when you speak and everything else sounds fake. They feel it when they try to outshine you and realize they're standing in your reflection. Quiet confidence isn't a lack of doubt. It's a decision to stop giving doubt the mic. It's not walking in thinking you're better. It's walking in knowing you don't need to prove it. So to every chosen one still trying to play it safe, stop. Stop dressing down your destiny just to be digestible. Stop soft-stepping around people who couldn't carry 1% of your silence. Stop asking questions that have already been answered by every room that shifts when you walk in. You don't need to raise your voice. You are the volume. And now that you've learned how to stand in that stillness, own it, fully. No half power, no filter. You were the storm long before they called you one. And now they know. So stay quiet if you want, but make no mistake. Your silence is screaming. Number 3, the knowledge gap you exploited. They laughed at you for taking notes. Now they're bleeding from your lessons. Here's the truth they can't admit. You didn't get here by accident. You didn't luck your way into the win. You studied for this. And not in some neat, polished textbook way. You learned the hard way. You learned by surviving what they were protected from. While they were being handed trophies and talking over people, you were watching. You were analyzing. You were breaking down every single move they made. Not because you wanted to, but because you had to. That's what survival does. It forces you to observe, adapt, and evolve. They never studied you, never even thought they needed to, and that's exactly why they lost. Their ignorance was their weakness, a weakness you've known about for a long time. They thought they were playing chess with a child. Turns out, they were playing checkers with a strategist. They had patterns. You had vision. They played loud. You played long. And when it finally came time to face you, you already had the entire playbook memorized. They didn't even know they were walking into a test, but you had the answers ready before the first whistle. But let's turn this mirror toward you now, chosen one. Because I need you to hear this clearly. You keep asking yourself if you're ready. You keep doubting whether your rise is real. You keep shrinking yourself just because the room's too small for your presence. Why? After everything you've seen, everything you've studied, everything you've endured, you still think maybe they're better. Maybe they still have something you don't? Stop it. You're not new to this. You're just undervalued. You're not underqualified. You're underestimated. And that's where your power lives. In the space between what they see and what you really are. You've been absorbing every mistake, every misstep, every ounce of arrogance they threw into the air like perfume. And you turned it into data, into instinct, into leverage. While they were performing for cameras, you were building memory. While they were being taught how to win, you were learning how to survive. And those lessons go deeper. They never had to learn how to get back up when no one was watching. You did. And now you don't need the crowd to move. You already know the outcome. You already see the gaps before they even open. So when you move now, move like someone who's already studied the terrain, because you have. Move like someone who doesn't need to guess, because you don't. Move like someone who knows exactly how and why the game ends in your favor. Because that's exactly what's happening. You're not out here playing with luck. You're executing precision. You didn't just beat them, you exposed them, and you made it look light. Number 4. How the world begins to react differently. At first they ignore you, then they study you, then they start talking quieter when you walk in. You've felt it, haven't you? That shift in the air, that tension that wasn't there before. People look at you longer now, but they say less. You walk into rooms that used to ignore you, and suddenly everyone's adjusting their tone. Even the loud ones, the ones who used to dominate every space, start watching their words around you. That's not coincidence. That's recognition. That's the quiet impact of a presence that can't be denied anymore. And here's what really messes with them. They don't know when it changed. You didn't get louder. You didn't suddenly wear a crown. You just stopped chasing their validation. That's when the power shifted. Because the world isn't built to reward the loudest. It follows the one who moves with purpose. And now, that's you. You don't just walk in with confidence. You walk in with weight. You used to ask yourself, why don't they listen to me? Now they hang on every word. Why? Because credibility can't be faked, and you've earned yours the hard way. You didn't demand respect. You became undeniable. And they feel that. Even if they'll never say it out loud, they know they're playing a different game now. Your game. And the old rules don't apply. Now they come to you for input. They frame their opinions around your presence. People who used to dismiss your thoughts are now echoing your words like they thought of them. That's what power does. It doesn't yell. It shifts gravity. And you're the one pulling everything into orbit. But don't think for a second that everyone clapping for you is happy about your rise. Some of them are just clapping to keep from choking. They're trying to adjust, trying to realign themselves with the force they didn't see coming. You. Dominant figures, powerful names, those who once had control. They now have to reckon with your arrival. And deep down, it burns them. Because you didn't get your seat at the table by asking. You took your spot by proving you never needed their permission in the first place. And still, you sometimes doubt. Still catch yourself wondering if this shift is real. So let me be clear. This isn't imagination. This is the universe folding around your movement. The same people who ignored your presence now respect your silence. The same ones who questioned your worth now watch their posture when you speak. Not because you demanded it, but because the world finally realized what it's dealing with. You didn't just arrive. You rearranged the power structure, and you did it without noise. Number 5. Navigating the transition phase. The most dangerous time isn't when you're the underdog. It's when you stop being one and the world hasn't figured out what you've become. That's where you are now. The middle, the shift. You're no longer the shadow figure they ignored, but you're not yet the throne they're forced to kneel to. This phase, it's chaos. Not because you're confused, but because they are. Old roles don't fit anymore. The dynamics that kept them safe are crumbling, and your presence is the earthquake. And it's making people uncomfortable. They don't know how to treat you now. You're not harmless anymore. You're not the quiet observer in the corner. You're not asking to be heard. You are heard, even when you don't say a word, and it shakes them, because now they have to adjust. The very power structure they built without you is being reformed because of you. And that's hard for people who believed their seat was secure. But the most dangerous part, you haven't even fully stepped into it yet. You're still adapting, still hesitating, still half walking in your full power. And this is where I need to get in your face a little, because this is the phase where most chosen ones fold. Not from weakness, from uncertainty. Because when you're no longer the underdog, you lose the comfort of invisibility. You're not underestimated anymore. You're watched. You're weighed. Every move is now a message. Every silence a statement. You wanted the rise? This is the price. So don't confuse transition with weakness. This in-between, it's sacred. This is the war zone between versions, and it's where most people crack, trying to hold on to who they used to be while reaching for who they're becoming. You can't do both. Let the old identity burn. You're not the grinder anymore. You're the threat. You're not trying to get in the room. You are the room. People you used to admire will start to shift. Some will pretend not to see you. Some will try to keep you in the past, remind you of who you were before the glow-up. That's fear talking. That's their discomfort with your growth. Don't fall for it. Don't shrink to soothe them. You didn't survive hell to make others feel comfortable in your heaven. And yes, sometimes it'll feel lonely, but that's what happens when you're no longer part of the old hierarchy and not yet claimed by the new one. That space is where legends get built. This isn't limbo. This is formation. You're not floating, you're forging. So move through this with cold clarity. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your presence burn through every room that still wants to pretend you're not the future. You are. You're not the underdog anymore. And now they don't know how to breathe around you. Number 6. Redefining relationships after victory. Victory doesn't change you. It exposes everyone else. You'd think that rising up would bring more love, more support, more celebration. But here's the truth. When the chosen one finally wins, the spotlight doesn't just hit you, it exposes everybody around you. Your success becomes a mirror. And not everyone likes what they see in their reflection. People who once smiled during your struggle start squinting in your shine. And suddenly, the people closest to you, they start shifting, quietly, uncomfortably, revealing themselves. Some of them clap louder now, sure, but not because they're proud, because they're scared. Scared that your new level doesn't have room for the old games. Scared that your glow-up means the truth about their mediocrity might surface. Because when you were grinding in silence, they felt superior. They could tolerate you. You were the project, the underdog, easy to root for, as long as you stayed beneath them. But now you've arrived. You've smoked the star player and made it look light. Now they don't see potential. Now they see proof. Now they see someone they can't explain away or keep boxed in. And it messes with them. That inner circle. It starts rearranging itself. Not because you told anyone to leave, but because your energy no longer entertains people who only loved you when you were losing. You're not familiar anymore. You're not broken enough for them to feel helpful. You're not struggling enough to make them feel strong. And let's talk about those uncomfortable glances, the backhanded compliments, the sudden quiet in conversations. That's not humility. That's tension. That's the realization that they never thought you'd actually make it. They liked you better when you doubted yourself, when you questioned your worth. Because as long as you stayed small, they didn't have to question theirs. But now the roles are shifting. You're not the student anymore. You're the standard. You're not the one asking for advice. You're the one they're now trying to copy in silence. And you feel it. You see it. So stop ignoring it. Stop trying to carry people who were only loyal to your lowest version. Stop calling it love when it's really just control in disguise. Stop apologizing for becoming exactly what the universe built you to be. You're not the same, and they're uncomfortable because now they have to change or get left behind. So let them feel it. Let your growth break their expectations. Let your presence ruin their old dynamics. Let your shine stretch the room until the weak ones excuse themselves. Because the truth is, you didn't change. You just became undeniable. And some people were only ever loyal to your struggle. Number 7. Your victory elevates everyone around you. When one chosen one rises, the floor under everyone else lifts too, and the ceilings start cracking. You thought this victory was about you, about proving you were more than what they said, about silencing the ones who doubted, about finally walking in rooms that once shut you out. And it is, but it's also so much bigger. Because when a chosen one ascends, it's never just personal, it's ancestral, it's generational, it's revolutionary. You didn't just smoke the star player, you rewrote the definition of what's possible. You shattered the image of what winning is supposed to look like. They thought greatness had a type, a voice, a look, a background. Then you showed up. Quiet, raw, unpolished, unapologetic. You walked in with scars and turned them into proof. And now, everyone who ever thought they were stuck just saw the cage door swing open. Your people feel it. Your circle, your community, your bloodline, they all felt the shift. Because your win didn't just echo, it shook systems. It made them sit up. It made them ask, if they can do that, what's stopping me? You don't even realize how many people have started moving differently just because they watched you refuse to fold. Your name might not be in lights yet, but your impact is already spreading in silence. Someone's getting back up today because you didn't stay down. Someone's rethinking their limits because you didn't honor yours. But don't get it twisted. That elevation you're triggering isn't comfortable for everyone. There will be those who resent that you became the example, because now they can't blame the system the same way. They can't pretend it's impossible. You made it possible. And that truth burns the ones who were using excuses to cover fear. Still, the real ones, they're rising with you. Not because you handed them anything, but because your existence exposed a blueprint they didn't even know existed. You don't need to preach. You don't need to post motivational quotes. You are the quote. Your life is the sermon. Your story is the syllabus. But let me hit you with the weight of it. This is responsibility now. Not to carry people, but to keep moving, to keep expanding the ceiling, to keep being undeniable so the ones watching never forget what they're capable of. So walk with pressure in your chest and purpose in your shadow. Know that every step you take forward isn't just for you. It's dragging the whole culture forward. Every time you win, you rewrite the rules for the next one. You are a walking permission slip for people who never saw themselves as chosen. And now they do, because of you. Number 8, redefining what it means to be chosen. Chosen doesn't mean favored, it means forged. Let's kill the lie once and for all. You weren't lucky. You weren't handed anything. You didn't just stumble into this win. You clawed your way here, through silence, through disrespect, through nights where you didn't know if you'd make it out whole. So stop letting people cheapen your rise by calling it destiny. No. This wasn't magic. This was muscle memory built in the fire. This was sweat, pain, repetition. This was you taking hits while they took shortcuts. You are not chosen because things were easy for you. You are chosen because they weren't. You are not chosen because everything aligned. You are chosen because you refused to break when everything fell apart. The world looks at you now and thinks, wow, how did they do it? But they weren't there when you were broken and building at the same time. When you were doubting your worth, but still showing up anyway. That's the definition of chosen. Greatness isn't inherited, it's earned. And you earned every inch of your glow. You earned every stare, every shift in the room, every ounce of respect that wasn't given until it had to be. You didn't just show up. You showed out after years of being shut down. You rose without a map, without permission, and without applause. That's what makes you dangerous. You see, the old definition of chosen was built on illusion. Status, family name, bloodline, the spotlight. You destroyed that. You walked in with none of it and still dominated the star player. And you made it look light. You didn't ask for permission to be great. You redefined the entire criteria. Now, when people hear chosen, they won't think of someone born into favor. They'll think of you, the one who was forged in rejection, who was laughed at, dismissed, counted out, and still lit the whole stage up like it was a setup from the start. But let's be real for a second. Even now, you still wrestle with it, don't you? That little voice still creeps in. Am I really that one? Let me answer that. Yes, you are. Because no one gave it to you. And still, you took it. So from this point on, carry that title with clarity. Chosen doesn't mean divine. It means undeniable. It means you were given pressure and you made diamonds. You were denied and you became a door. You were ignored and you became the frequency no one can block out. You are what it looks like when perseverance becomes power, when pain becomes precision, when being overlooked becomes the very reason you can't be outshined. You didn't fit the mold, so you became the mold breaker. And now you are the definition. Number 9, the legacy of consistent preparation. They saw the arrival. What they'll never understand is the years you trained in silence for the moment they thought just happened. When people talk about you now, they talk with awe, like your rise was sudden, like it came out of nowhere. That's the story they like to tell, because it protects their ego. It makes them feel better about being blindsided. But you know the truth. You didn't pop up. You didn't just get hot. You prepared in silence while they performed in circles. The victory didn't surprise you. It was scheduled. The result of hours they'll never see, sacrifices they'll never understand, and discipline they'll never match. They see the shine. They didn't see the grind when it was thankless, quiet, invisible. They didn't see you building when no one was clapping. But that's what makes your story different. See, most people prepare only when the opportunity arrives. You prepared when no one was watching, when no one believed, when the room was empty and the future was foggy. You kept showing up. You kept sharpening. You trained for a spotlight you weren't even sure you'd get. And when it finally found you, you didn't flinch. You executed. That's why it looked light. That's why you smoked the star player like it was nothing. Because it wasn't about that moment. It was about the 1,000 silent ones before it. The ones where you got up early when it didn't matter. The nights you kept working when everyone else clocked out. That legacy? That wasn't created when you won. That was revealed. Let's get one thing straight. Consistency is not sexy. It's boring. It's painful. It's lonely. That's why most people never taste what you're tasting now. They dip in and out. You locked in. You became obsessed with preparation while they were addicted to applause. And now they stare at your results like it's magic. But the real ones know. The sharp ones understand. They know that kind of poise under pressure isn't natural. It's earned. It's built, layer by layer, brick by brutal brick. And that's your legacy. Not just that you rose, but that you built the rise in silence. that every move you made in front of the world was backed by 1,000 they never saw. So let them say it was sudden. Let them call it luck. Let them write their watered-down version of your greatness. Because the ones who really know what power looks like, they'll speak your name with respect. Because you proved something they can't fake. Preparation always wins. And you made winning look inevitable. And just like that, this chapter closes. But don't get it twisted. This wasn't the peak. This was the launch. Now the world knows what you're capable of, but they haven't seen everything. The choice is yours. Rest on the win or build an empire from it. You didn't just change the scoreboard, you changed the standard. Now it's time to move like it. If you felt this in your chest, like, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments. Share this with another chosen one who forgot who they were. We're not done. We just got dangerous.